When are you gonna start our own song? You know, two bros, Brandon and Dave. Like, when are you gonna write that song and create that?
If I get a minute.
You know, it'd really be fun if we were like snobby, bitchy brothers. You know, if we were actually those people. Like, I need a minute. I need, you know.
I feel like I need one though.
It was weird because this is the Two Bros podcast, which is cutting edge nationwide, and we have canceled it 7 or 8 times because really it's not. It's some of it is the priorities that we put in our place to be with our family and do things with our family too, which is really a neat thing. But like we were doing it last night, and you sent me videos of your son hitting. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then I was like breaking it down after that. And Kip's like, well, are you guys going to do the podcast? I'm like, I don't think so.
I don't know if we ever will do it. So this isn't even live, not live, because I don't even know that we can even finish this. Like we have like 14 minutes to do a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we did a podcast even leading up to the big Cooper DeJean Experience event.
We announced it.
We have not done a podcast post event, so I think we're like 7 weeks removed from the event now, and here we are.
Yeah, I mean it was not that long ago. I mean it was 10 days ago.
It feels like it. It was a century ago.
Yeah. Well, that's the cool thing is putting stuff on the calendar and making it a success and moving on. So we had so many different partners in it. When I think about all the people, but like CLE was one of our big partners in this project. And it was really cool because post event, I didn't, follow up with anybody because we kind of had to go right back to work. I'm sorry. What'd you have up there? What'd you have up there? Yeah. Yeah. So post event, didn't really have a chance to talk to everybody because we had to go back and actually start working on our company. But having it at Awbaws, I think, was at the clubhouse on the
Talons of Tuscany. You're looking live.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The setup, no different than any other venue. It's just there was a really high end feel to that. So we spent some investment in making sure that the venue was special. And just some of the little things that happen. I mean, even all the way down to you with some of the table markers that you made. But, the whole team with Bing Bang and ADI and everybody that was involved did a great job. But Gabby, it was really cool to have your niece and my daughter design a poster just for the event. It was weird because everybody's like, what's this called? About 6 weeks in or about 5 weeks in before the event, like, what's this called? I'm like, it's the DeJean Trophy, like presentation, like, but then we called it the experience. And I thought that was cool to name it the actual experience. But everybody that got involved bound, and then some of the folks that we had come take photos. It was great to get some of this stuff and to have it.
For sure, it was just and so I think if people are just joining us for the first time, what the heck is the DeJean Experience? Like, what are we talking about here?
That's my favorite picture right there. Yeah.
That one?
No. I about people were giving me crap for wearing a hoodie, but I'm just like, I did it about 4 or 5 years ago and I liked it. So I didn't go black tie. I go black tie. I mean, we could do a survey next year and I can wear, people can pick what I wear.
Yeah, I did think it was interesting. I don't have a photo loaded here. I should have loaded a photo of you and Coop, but like,
yeah, we had the same jacket.
Yeah, did you and Coop like same jacket? Like, boom.
Yeah, we had the same jacket. I mean, I'm right there.
It was funny though. Like, if people were giving you a hard time, little hooded sweatshirt under the jacket. And then I thought it was hilarious when Coop showed up and he was in the same jacket as Dave. So maybe it's a little nicer. But yeah, what a crazy.
I went to like Mr. B's a while back. I mean, that's a high end store. It's not like I went to Men's Warehouse, but so I spent some money on it. I think Coop's is probably a little bit more expensive than mine.
Yeah, I think like if you kind of look at it, like probably a little nicer, but yeah, I mean, the grand scheme of things, I think what we set out to do with this event was how do we elevate Iowa high school football? How do we elevate the kids that make this so special? How do we elevate the communities that make this our state, everything? And at the end of the day, when you kind of step back and you realize just what this event did, it elevated everything. And it was pretty amazing to see, a full clubhouse that had the feel of the Heisman Trophy. And you had these 7 kids and their families and the anticipation and the excitement, but also the inspiration that was created like being in that room. We even had a couple, juniors to be potential winners of the trophy next year, and Jax DeJean and Braylon Bingham in the house. And both of them, I think, just walked away kind of like, whoa, I want to win that award.
The mission statement is to champion all high school football programs in Iowa, and I mean that with every kid and every player. We saw what it was like to play at the smallest school level, but then we got to cover it all the way from top to bottom, Brandon. But the thing that always resonates with me when I was on, especially the early years of doing the blitz, is going to the schools where the kids were not going to win. And then sometimes seeing, they still had their fans there or not as many fans, but just seeing the camaraderie, what football was bringing to their world. And even if they weren't going to be successful, it's like, I'm here, dude. I'm playing against, and they might be playing against a really good team. So I think that this event is not just, we have greatness in our state because of our teachers and our coaches and our parents. But I want to honor every kid that goes out there and gets their butt whipped, that, has to play on every down. And I think by doing these high end events, we use the term raise the tide, but we don't honor our kids enough. We don't inspire them enough. We don't see this. And what happened for me at the event that I was expecting, but I was a little bit more overwhelmed, is how much this was about those 7 kids and their families. And it's all, and this is a credit to Cooper. He just dissolved into this experience, and the kids were the show. That was pretty cool. I was a little bit shocked by that.
Yeah, I thought it was fun too. Like, it means something when you're nervous. I know you were a little nervous. I know I was probably more nervous for you than anything, just because
I wasn't really that nervous. But
can he pull this off? Can we make this work? And then I've learned a lot about myself, I would say, over the last 10 years and for sure the last couple of years. But like, I don't do a great job of explaining the vision inside my own head, and found that you're that same way.
You get that? Who do you get that from?
Yeah. So it was funny.
Your dad never had a blueprint when we went to the jobs. It's like, what are we doing here?
As Cooper, who is probably one of the most prepared human beings, to go play the game that he's so good at, as he walked through the doors and he's like, what am I doing? And it was just funny as how he just took it and made it. And I think big props to Cooper. Like, not only did he walk into an environment that probably isn't his, like where he wants to be every day and be the limelight, he took it and he just made it his own. And just so cool to see him. I think these events for him actually probably, while these probably take you from the comfort zone of playing the game you love and things, this is what actually grows you. And so I watched him as he walked out the door that night, just kind of like, wow, it's pretty cool what I get the opportunity to do. Wow, it's pretty amazing who I've become through the hard work. And so, I think then these 7 kids that we had, as you see them on display here, their jerseys and stuff inside the venue. And that was such a cool thing for them to be able to display their jerseys and helmets, school pride. And then, be able to be in a room like this that's packed with, 400 or 500 people, of how do you get them all together and do something like this. And so just a really special evening, a really cool event. Thanks to Cooper, thanks to Joey. Like, we didn't get to meet Joey, but the things she did behind the scenes, and Will, really just making all this happen with Coop and everything. And so I'm excited for, what the future of this looks like, what it stands for, and what it continues to grow to be.
The debrief that we'll go through to talk, it's really a double-edged sword right now, because we can get athletes, that have a little less going on than Coop right now. So for him to have to, blend this into his life right now, I think his grandma and grandpa were the ones that were smiling the most of anybody there. Like, I loved talking to them. I don't know. It's really special to see how important it was for them. And then I think as we move through it, obviously, we've got to learn some things that Coop wants and doesn't want as part of the event. But for him to take all those photos, Joey, you talked about Joey with Athletes First, his agent, and we just didn't really get a lot of opportunity before the event to talk to Coop, 10 minutes before. And it went great. And his ownership of this event and partnership will grow as he gets older and more time. So, but for him to take all those photos, and for those to be able, we released those on our Facebook on Dome Dynasty and Will on Bing Bang. And the thing is, we're going to have content from this, all the way until the football season starts. So if you're like, hey, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? We will, and we will honor all the people that made it possible, from, Wyckoff Heating and Cooling and Mike Murphy Outside Scoops, and we'll name them all here at some point. I'll even play
People
the video.
Still talking about the ice cream, so
yeah, it was so weird. I didn't even get any ice cream that night, and I should have taken some and put it in, because but I go there a lot. So
I didn't get any ice cream, but I did load the cooler. So I should have got some ice cream. Come on.
Yeah. And the thing about Outside Scoop and every company that's out there that are big in our communities, they have fundraising and stuff. They're connected to schools, and they'll outwork people, and that's just the coolest things. They won't walk away from any challenge or any opportunity to have their ice cream somewhere. So, and we'll go through some of the sponsors. I want to do that. Remind me before we go. But Bound was a big deal and be a big partner moving forward. But as much as I loved the event and the idea, I always saw this coming. I could see what it would do, and there needs to be more promotion of our athletes in our state. Otherwise, they're just going to go play club, and then our sense of community is going to go away. And I can still feel it, and that's okay. It's probably going to happen. I don't want to be the old guy, get off my lawn guy. But if we don't celebrate these people, and the moms, and the thing with the sport of football is, like, I know these coaches. Like, these coaches are my guys. They're fine. They are great role models and all that. But this thing all goes to hell in a handbasket without the women in our state. And I think that we've never been able to showcase that in Dome Dynasty, Brandon. So I wanted to make that point that, like, that's not easy being a mom, especially, probably think about it, if you had, like, there's 3 or 4 boys in the family, like the Blatts and all that, geez Louise, there's some special ladies that make this. So I don't want to go on that rant, but super excited about what this is going to do, because I think 20, 30 years from now, there'll be a kid that is not very good from our hometown or somebody's hometown. Their team might not be very good, but they want to play football because they watch the DeJean presentation experience every year.
And I think that's something that maybe goes unsaid or unnoticed. I love, you're talking about the women of the sport that really power it, that really are the heartbeat and the glue. And to have the Wilkin family up there together was pretty powerful, to be able to kind of send it to the trophy presentation. So that was a cool moment, really cool thing. And I think, as we go backwards and we kind of look at some of the things that we've had the front row seat to, like, and we think about Ed Thomas and Jan Thomas, like Ed Thomas, it was one of the probably greatest human beings and coaches that will ever walk this planet. But Ed Thomas is nothing without Jan Thomas.
Oh yeah.
Like, and I got a lot of back.
You got a firsthand look at that.
And there were a lot of moments that Ed Thomas was Dave Bingham, walking around not telling anybody what was going on, but he knew exactly how he was going to do it. But if Jan wasn't been around to help kind of translate that message to the rest of the world, I don't know the world knows who Ed Thomas is. And
yeah, he definitely got better at it. But she was a guide. She's such a guidepost, and she still is. Like, we went up there and saw her a couple years ago. It's just, and she doesn't even know how good she is, but she's just so good.
And I think that's the same thing with this event is like, it's a way to really open up that visual story. It's a way to open up that whole picture to the rest of the world that like how special and how cool this is. And I think when we look back on 25 years of Friday Night Blitz, that ultimately empowered a lot of human beings to do a lot of things. And a lot of that is because of the stories that were told.
Yeah.
So if we continue to harness those stories and don't tell them and share them, how do we empower the next generation? And I think that's ultimately what happens through events like this. That's ultimately what happens through Cooper is larger than Cooper. Cooper is helping power the state of Iowa, helping to power football in Iowa. And I think that ultimately is what the greatest gift is of all of this is how do we give back and how do we give more and how do you give more than you get?
Yeah. The more you give, the more you get, right? And that's the one thing too, Brandon, as I see the impact of, and every time I would sit there and see one Saturday morning, Coach Winkler and I and Coach Wilkin were having breakfast up before the dome. And then Pam came in and then I was like, listening to her talk and I'm like, oh, so you always have, somebody in the back of your head kind of telling you what to do. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have them talk at that was November. I'm like, I'm going to have them talk at the DeJean thing. This is what I've been waiting for. And I knew that she would just do a great job. So those are moments you're like, oh, I'm going to do this. And then it happens. Right. But we have to understand where we're going to, because we're doing this podcast to, record and represent our thoughts, but where are we going to get to these kids? Where are we going to get to these families? And the Friday Night Blitz and those ideas, that there's no such thing as a good idea, just like a good memory, good concept. And just never stopped whining about not doing a half-hour show. We got to do this. We got to do this. Channel 5 separate itself from the market. And it's a legacy thing. And so it's still there and people still watch it. But that's not going to be if we want to keep growing our sport and do that, where do we got to get to Bound? Everybody's on social media. Bound's part of that. Huddle's part of that. We've got to get out into different environments and expose these kids earlier on and in different ways. And so I'm really excited about how innovative. I mean, that's the great thing about being in the market every day that you and I are looking at trends and all that. But I want to thank Huddle and Bound, especially for what they've done. And Sam and his team, I mean, Brian Gordon was like,
yeah, I mean,
a guy that's
connected to Grundy Center and Van Meter, can he be any good? Like, I didn't know, but he was. And then you got a guy like Sam Schill that just amazing. And really the way that Bound stepped up and helped in so many different ways, like really just appreciate that relationship and excited about what that looks like. And everything that they have going on in the future is awesome. So
yeah, really so we'll keep going through those. And I know, Brandon, you had that idea to bring in those lockers, and I loved it. I just hope that like those lockers didn't destroy anything they were huge. Like I was there at 9:00 and CLE's bringing in all their stuff, and I'm like, this is cool. And I'm like, what the hell is this? Like cattle trailer. There was and I'm like, what's going on there?
It was a race trailer. Come on.
Was it a race trailer? Oh, well, yeah. I don't know my trailers.
Come on.
I don't know my trailer. But did I take a picture of that? I can't remember. And I might have snapped it to you. But when they brought that thing out of there, I thought we were getting 7 like movable lockers. So tell me a little bit about this company and who they are and what they do. We got to give them some pub because they went to work.
Yeah, so Cole Jansen and Ross Henning at Jansen Fabrication I believe in Pella. I don't even know where they're out of. Like, it was just
we had a lot going on.
They're definitely in the Bingham quadrant somewhere. And so, as Andy Fales would say, they're definitely in the Bingham quadrant. We don't know where or how. But I believe down in Pella, they custom fabricated these lockers. And so they're actually selling these lockers to booster clubs, schools, fire departments, for your home use, like in your garage. Like, these are pretty cool, amazing things that you can use. They're movable, so they're on caster wheels. You can move them around. You can put them actually, dead set. They don't move however you need to. But I'd seen these online and was kind of like, man, these would be really cool. And I don't know if I have a photo. It'd be cool if we had a photo of kind of the whole area. But we had this whole Cooper's Corner. And so we had the lockers with each one of the kids' stuff representing each one of the player of the year candidates that we had. And then
think wait.
This is the setup.
Yeah, look at my video shot. There's Josh.
So we had the lockers from Jansen Fabrication. So they came, brought them in, and then we were able to set them up with each individual kid, and then took them away that night, which is amazing. And so then we had the ADI set up behind them too, that we had kind of the whole graphic and experience, and Coop in high school beating the crap out of Van Meter, and all those fun things that we had. So Cooper's Corner ended up a couple different ways. We had Cooper's Corner on stage that we had each individual kid. Let's see if we have a photo of that. Like, this experience.
Wasn't that this is the thing, like, and I talked to Coop a little bit ahead of the event, and I'm like, after you do your speech, then we'll put you over there. And he was a little bit like, why don't they just ask me questions? I'm like, you and I have watched him do his podcast, and this is where he is probably at his best. So this was the highlight for me. I think it was the highlight for everybody with Coop talking to the 7 kids. It was really cool as they all had like 10 or sometimes they had a minute before they went on, depending on how the show broke down. But when him and Tate Foertsch were the first ones, Tate Foertsch is just a very confident, great kid from Bishop Garrigan. And I could just hear them, before they went on. So I knew this was going to be great, and it was.
Yeah, and thanks to our friends at Story Kenworthy Workspace Business Furniture Warehouse for providing the furniture on stage too. Pretty cool to see kind of that all come together. And then watching Coop in this moment, you can see why he's such a lovable teammate.
Yeah.
And you can just see he's the guy, he's the locker room guy, right? Like, just a guy that's going to be in there competing something fun in the locker room, but he's going to create that just togetherness. And you can see he's probably the glue of the Eagles a little bit, and you saw it in these moments, because he had never met these kids. Like, his first introduction, it was, they walked on stage, they shook his hand, and then they sit down with a guy that's probably their idol.
Yeah. And Brandon, I don't think you talk about Rettig, these kids are confident. These are high-end competitive kids. I mean, Jirosvky, come on. And he's going to be something special that we're going to come back to in 5 or 10 years. They were so in just the idea of being up there with Coop. I mean, it was I can't put it into words with the look in their eyes, and then going through it.
From a leadership and a coaching perspective, like, I've had a lot of leadership stuff that I've been given and have to give out daily in our everyday, and then get a coach a lot here now in my world. And probably my coolest moments of the event, one was with Coop before, as we were about to walk on stage, and he kind of gave me that look like, dude, I got to do this. Like, and he kind of like that last minute, I'm like, dude, just be you. You're fine. And then when he came off stage in between everything, he kind of looked at me as we were backstage and everything, was like, it's kind of cool, and I think his nerves were out, because he had nerves, like, and I'm like, this guy's played in a Super Bowl, all these things, but he was nervous because he didn't want to look like a fool, and he wanted to represent himself, the state, everything. But every one of those individual kids I got to talk to before we put them on stage. So off stage right there, as I was meeting with them, and every one of those kids looked at me like, dude, like, do I have to go up there? do I
Dave,
have to ask
Dave said you're going up there, so you don't have a choice.
And so each kid I had to give a little, pregame speech right there on the side of the stage. And each one of them, as they kind of looked at me, it was almost like watching my own kid, like walk on stage or walk on, and they kind of like, as they turned and they kind of were walking away from me, but they were like, Brandon, am I good? And I was like, yeah, you're fine. It'll be awesome. And then each one of the kids were just dynamic in their own way. And then, it was hilarious I'll kind of ruin it here showing this one, but Caden Klein, and you can see why Caden Klein is Caden Klein, and he asked the question, and we'll have to probably bring it up later. I'll probably have video of it. But he asked about the fair catch at Minnesota, and the room just erupted, and you can see why Caden Klein is such a leader. And Caden Klein, really just is Cooper DeJean, like in high school. And so it's so fun to see Caden Klein win the first ever DeJean experience, and just his family and what it meant and everything. And then Coop was just so proud, you could see, to get that trophy to him, and just such a cool moment.
We had so many people that got involved, and the visualization of having all the athletes there in their communities. We talked about some of the sponsors, but like mid-states companies in Nevada, they did such a great job. They bought a whole table and then put all, Waldera's teammates in the table. I mean, that was unbelievable. And then, of course, Marty Wadley, he went out and got his NASCAR going. And throughout the year, we're going to honor these sponsors too. We just didn't want to do it all at once. We want to keep remembering what they did for these kids. And then they had a table full of their athletes there at the event.
I love the Algona Nevada side. Nevada, like, it was so fun. They all walked in with their state championship hats. They had rings on. It was and then Algona Garrigan, and like, these kids and families and communities were so proud of their player, that they were in that room, that they were a part of that discussion. So it was pretty special, to see these 7 kids, and probably what a relationship they built.
Yeah, isn't that the coolest thing, Brandon, when we, whether we're doing the Blitz or a Dome project or basketball or state baseball, and we meet these people throughout our lives, we have an impact on their story, or we tell their story, and then they get to know you. And I think that's the powerful thing. Whether, you look back, we were talking about Clement and Peterson, and, during that home run chase back in the day, Brandon Myers, whoever, Kyle Orton, it didn't matter, these athletes that we're able to cover. I remember when Brandon was a freshman at PCN, they're like, yeah, he's really good. I'm like, he's not that good. And I went to a game at Johnson. I'm like, okay, yeah, he's not bad. So then we got to know the family even better. And so that's the cool thing. And it doesn't matter what the future holds for Rettig or any of these kids, but we'll always be connected with them. And that process of meeting them and getting them in the instruction and the survey, that was my favorite part. Was meeting these young men and their families. It was really cool. Rettig's dad was in Copenhagen.
Yep.
He wasn't even in the country, and he watched it on Huddle. So at like 3:30 in the morning.
It's kind of like then trying to, unwind after that. It was like 3 in the morning. I got to get back to bed. And I was talking to the family, and they were just like, he was struggling. Like, man, that was like, the emotions of being the dad there and all those things. And so just
because powerful. It's one of these things that everything's scheduled, right? And then this is kind of a different event. Like, you wouldn't have had this thing and there's the Mike Skinner group that sponsored Newton in 1834, an Old National Bank. So a shout out to them. But yeah, I mean, you didn't have, I gotta take off, and Hy-Vee, one of our big sponsors, I had to take off that day in case my son gets the DeJean Trophy, or whatever. So this is that mid-states company. So, man, they had a lot of great things going on in Nevada. What a great organization. We appreciate them, and we'll send some of our sponsor stuff out. I just didn't want to miss anybody, but The guys at Midwest Wheel, we've done video work for them at Bing Bang. Hopefully, we'll be doing some more coming up. But they had a table, and then we talked about Murph's group. The girls do all the work. Like
oh my gosh, Mike. I don't know if he does anything.
Well, he did. He was standing there making sure the cooler was good.
He did. He was everywhere. I give him credit. Me and him did help load the cooler, so we did something.
I'm thinking about Joe and his family right now. He couldn't make it, but Wyckoff Heating and Cooling, just a rock for us, a rock for the Friday Night Blitz, and then our guy Brad Skinner. I mean, his Cam and the guys do everything there, but
yeah,
we'll give him some credit. These are some of the Marty sponsors rolling through right now. It's kind of cool to just let him go. I mean, look at the guy go to work. But Brandon, you waste so much time making some of those AI things. If you could do something with Marty and all like these sponsors, that would be cool. We could put that on social sometime. But
yeah, we were gonna put him all on a race on like a NASCAR for his sponsorship group. The Algona
just have him with his Gable ties, Bishop Garrigan. I know Bishop Garrigan probably used those ties and stuff for all their formals, but once Gable wore it, I think Marty owned it, and like he's wore that same tie, which I love it. I mean, it's a brand standard for him with a ball cap on.
Yeah, and then Sean Presnell and the ATW training solutions, like they were awesome too. Yeah. They cheered every time Sean's photo popped up too. That
was his dad Denny has been a great.
I think they would call we call Denny Bedrock, right?
Mm-hmm. So well, and Brandon, it's really neat. Like after that event, for him to come up and just tell me how blown away he was. I mean, and that's what we got to keep doing.
It's the Elvis. It's the Elvis Dave Bingham.
We got to keep doing events like this, but we can't do it without support for people like that. So we're coming after every business in the state of Iowa.
I am not. I need a break.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And then we're doing a home run derby too, so we probably better get the home run derby cropped up too. But
yeah, we probably got about 5 minutes to wrap this show up. So, but yeah, we're going to be talking about the home run derby stuff that you have coming up, and I've got to figure out what my role is in that. I'm kind of excited about it, and we've got to get people involved in that. It's going to be pretty exciting. Events are one thing, but some of the things that we do daily at Bing Bang, we're doing really well right now. So I'm proud of that too. I mean,
we got a few minutes before we get rocking. So let's just walk through the 7 players. And then let's go 7 players. Then let's go Caden, Klein, champion. Let's look at that. And then over and out. So give me the 8 player.
Tate Foertsch. You want me to play the videos?
Yeah, let's check out. So
we don't have to. We don't have to play all of it, but
Tate Foertsch is a two-way star
and
for Algona Garrigan.
A lot of these,
an 8-player, he's a proven.
We will put a lot of these on our socials. We're going to put every one of these. We did tributes to him from what we did at the Dome, and then we put more of these professional ones together with them filling out survey, giving us some information. He's going to Central College. I don't know what the future holds for him, but whatever it is, I mean, he's going to be phenomenal. This kid, I think, was a crowd. I mean, I think Tate set the tone, though.
He did,
just because of the confidence that he had, but this was just going and sitting with Korben and his family. I mean, because they're from clear up in St. Ansgar, and Coach Clevenger's a PCM guy, right? But this guy's, this guy is probably 5'2". I don't know.
He was small. I was like, holy cow! But just you tell, just a beast. And
you talk about
right here, like it was probably one of the things. Tate set the tone, and then Korben Michels up here, and
as the dairy farmer,
the dairy farming stuff, and Cooper, just like you can see Cooper's personality, you see Korben, you can see what makes our state amazing, because there's so much that happens that we feed and fuel the world, right? And inside of that, it was just cool.
Back to Korben too, and we had our meetings. He's just that. He was sitting there like, I have prom, so I might wear, and he didn't want to, I might wear my tux. And I'm like, that would be awesome. Wear your tux. And so he just owned it. And you could just tell that his family was like, they're all just like super excited to be there. And he wore his tux, and so did Brock, which I thought was cool. And
I think those moments, like seeing those kids in tuxes, and then I had the privilege of kind of just sitting there and like front row seat to see the parents' reactions to their kids and stuff, and the tears and the emotions of like watching those parents like watch their like kids. And then every one of them, like the package that we ran here during the event and stuff, talked about thanking their parents, and it was powerful.
Yeah, and I didn't really we were rushed, and Jesse did such a good job on the opens and all this. And when I wrote the scripts, I didn't want to voice all these. I thought it would be lame. But I realized it was their words. It was who they were. And so I think you're right. Just a little bit of information, and we'll put these out on our socials about their relationships. And sorry, but then as we talked about this, Brandon, we have so much of an archive. So when Judd's talking about his brother, we have the video of him scoring a touchdown as a receiver a couple years ago, and then there's him and his brother. Jesse's able to find that stuff. And so that is when I'm watching that before we put it in the show, I'm getting kind of like, getting the goosebumps. And
I would say every interaction I had with Judd and his family was just like, wow, this is just amazing. And the kid's going to Stanford to golf. And we had a fun little interaction too, because our cousin Braylon Bingham and the Pleasantville Trojans got to go play Grundy Center in a basketball game with Coach Thomas's son coaching, so just
Owen's coaching. Yeah.
And so it was fun to, give Judd a hard time and say like, what happened in that game? Because Pleasantville was kind of beating Grundy Center up pretty good. And then Judd just took it over and scored like 36 points. And I'm like, you do that every night, right? And he's like, no, not really. That was probably one of my best games. And I kind of had to beat your cousin up a little bit. And he did. And so it was kind of fun.
I don't know if we ever had him, that's for sure.
No, I don't think so. But
I did see Aaron out in the hallway every once in a while questioning officials. So
just a special kid. And this is probably what makes Iowa high school football so cool is like, I think Cooper was like listening to his stat line, and it was like, how many varsity letters do you have?
Oh, they talked about golf and stuff too.
And he's like,
that's great.
So you think you can run at the state track meet and you can be a golfer? And then it was like, and then he's like, what's your handicap? And then Coop's like, oh, geez, like you're actually pretty good, right? And I don't even know he knew he was going to Stanford and all this. So pretty cool. Yeah, that's our 1A player.
Yeah, and there were so many stories with Judd that we can go into. Brock was just what he's been going through right now, and not play his senior year of basketball. He's going to Mankato State to play basketball, and to have to go through that, what he's going through right now. He won his championship, and his high school team got to the state championship in basketball, and he wasn't able to be a part of it. But we saw him firsthand that the Knights were the real deal. They have all kinds of athletes, and it's there's stuff happening there. So.
This was the only thing I was really worried about outside of you, I guess, for the night was the Carroll, Kuemper, Odebolt Arthur, Battle Creek, Ida Grove feud. I was like, is Cooper going to actually even be able to, is Brock and Cooper going to get along? Are they going to fight? Like, what's going to happen? So.
Yeah, I'm sure Brock's not a huge fan of Jax DeJean having to go against him twice. There's that. And you can't separate. That's the cool thing, too, as we move forward. I know you've got to get going. That rivalry that you have in high school is so huge. To be able to have the emotional maturity to understand that these are going to be your best friends someday is really, really hard at the time. It's very difficult to understand it.
Okay, maybe this was my favorite. This might be my favorite. Every one of them's my favorite.
Waldera.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, what a great family. His dad was from the very get-go was like, what are we doing? This is awesome. How can we help? And so kudos to their family. And Austin works and has done stuff with Mid-States companies, so that's really cool.
It's such a cool thing for Mid-States to help bring their whole team there and let them all experience it together. Just powerful.
But I know that we're running out of time. This kid was, like I said, I mean, I think the thing with the 70 carries in the dome and 400 yards and a couple touchdowns, he was always good, man. He was at his very best when they needed him to be. So congratulations to Nevada. And I'm going to put together a little tape from our dome stuff and give it to them. And we're just going in class order, but this was our winner, Caden, Klein, and everything comes from Newton now, right? I mean, everything's happening in Newton right now.
The world revolves and runs through Newton.
Yeah.
Even Casey Blake through Newton, it felt like that night. Like,
what the hell? Everything. I mean, yeah, Casey Blake was there. I'm like, what's going on? I mean, I'm like, hey, what are you doing here? He goes, hey, how are you? I'm like, and then of course reverted right back to his playing days and how he was never good enough and all that. Yeah. So that's what motivated him. But this kid's gonna be special. We wish him the best of luck in his health recovery. Just was a kid that probably just worked himself to death, but is so explosive. So it'll be fun to see if he can make a huge difference on the field for the Panthers.
It will be, and just seeing that, look at that shot, iconic, right? Like Caden Klein, the first ever DeJean Trophy Experience winner. And I think, you couldn't ask for a better kid to win it, but just so cool. Who's our 5A?
Our 5A was Reece, of course. And I truly believe Scott Chandler is going to be a great coach. Really cool that he just decided in his life that this is not the way I want to go. I want to get involved and work with kids, and thank God that he did. He's going to work in a but this kid kind of catapulted that Liberty program just because of his orneriness and they had a good group coming through. His dad Garrett and that group of parents, they brought these kids through. But yeah, he's going to go to Wisconsin lacrosse, and like we said, Klein's going to go to UNI. I didn't go through all of the kids. Korben, Michels, our dairy farmers, going to Wartburg, but I just think that Wisconsin lacrosse got them a little money player, and they're going to be shocked when he takes over the starting job a couple practices in. But what a cool family, what a cool story. And we never even knew Liberty existed, until this guy came around.
And I think that's what's cool when you have a kid like this that helps put the school on the map. And you have a great coach like Scott Chandler that really kind of, together. And so you could just tell that Reece just elevates everything around him. And he's just
that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. It gives people confidence, doesn't he?
And he did it at the event. It's like we were just standing, over there having a conversation and stuff. He was just like, he was probably the most calm, cool, collected of the individuals going up there. And he's like, I'm just gonna have fun with it. Yeah. And like this is kind of my moment, it was, and I think that plays the game.
I think all 7 kids in that environment handled that really well. Like none of them were overwhelmed, but it's really cool to see like how Foertsch and Baiting and Reece, those quarterbacks are just like, but I mean, and Jirosvky, obviously. I mean, Jirosvky might end up being president someday. He's got a little, he's got a little Niall Kinnick thing going. I don't know what it is, dude. It's impressive to meet these people.
It is. It's pretty wild. So, that's pretty much the DeJean experience year 1. There's so much more to go through and so many amazing things, but just a really, really cool experience that we got the opportunity to have. The kids got, Cooper got, and just exciting for what that looks like. And so year 2 of this will roll out probably about August 1st. We'll kind of roll out kind of the next step and stages of what that looks like in kind of year 2 of the partner program that we'll be doing. And, hopefully with all of it, we'll be coming weekly with player content and stuff that we need to do and be able to figure out who will be year 2 winner of the DeJean Trophy.
Just starting to scratch the surface.
So that is 2 bros.
Yep.
No cup of Joe, or your cup of Joe was cold, right?
I know, it was bad.
I had to. It's early, so I had to get the Dr. Pepper.
Oh yeah, I like it that I like it that you've kind of always on your own path, but every once in a while you fall in line and follow behind your brother. So I mean, at some point we gotta get Dr. Pepper, but I need to quit drinking it. But
I do too.
Not in the morning.
But I need to get on a county meeting. I need to figure out if I can still run a business or not. So
yeah,
over and out. See you later.
See ya.